How's it going, everyone? This is Mitchell Mander here, and welcome to another review of Pokemon 2019. Today we're going to be talking about episode 12, which involves Leon versus Lance, and I gotta say, this is my favorite episode of Pokemon 2019 so far. This episode was fantastic, and it did not disappoint, that's for sure. I love this episode. Yes, it is my favorite episode of Pokemon 2019 so far. So anyways, before I get into the review, if you like this type of content, be sure to like and subscribe as I cover the Pokemon 2019 series on a weekly basis. As long as the episodes come out, that is. Anywho, on to the review. So this episode starts off at the Sakuragi Labs, and of course, because Professor Sakuragi has infinite amount of money, he has tickets to the Pokemon World Tournament, and it's the finals. And for some reason, Ash is unaware of it, but apparently, Go and Professor Sakuragi are a bit surprised by this and can't believe that Ash doesn't know, and I'm also surprised as to why Ash doesn't know about this either, considering this is Ash of all characters. But anywho, yes, with Professor Sakuragi and his infinite amount of money, sends the two boys off to the Galar region to witness this tournament between Lance and Leon, which is the finals. Now, a surprising moment in this episode is when Ash and Go are on the plane to the Galar region, when the lights turn off, and Eternatus, of all Pokemon, is flying in the skies of Galar. This surprised me. So I guess Eternatus isn't causing the darkest day right now, so they're altering the events of what's going on in the series. And it's a lot different than the Sword and Shield games. So there must not be a darkest day in this continuity. But Eternatus is flying through the skies, so I'm wondering if this is going to lead to something later on in the series. I know this series is more episodic, but I would like to see an arc around Eternatus in the future, or even a movie around it. That'd be pretty nice. So anywho, Ash and Go arrive in the Galar region, and Go, being Go, wants to go off and catch Pokemon. That's the first thing he always wants to do every time he enters a region. But Ash, being Ash, is mesmerized by the Winden Stadium where the tournament is taking place at, and drags Go in, not allowing him to catch any Pokemon. And I'm actually kind of glad about that, because I don't think we needed that to happen in this episode. But anyways, we arrive at the tournament, and it begins as Lance and Leon arrive on the stage. And I actually like this, as when Lance is introduced, they actually introduce him as a member of the G-Men squad, or whatever it's called. Nice continuity nod. I actually really like that. I wasn't expecting it, but you know what? I'll take it. It's some type of continuity with the G-Men being referenced. Although I was hoping that Ash would maybe mention to Go, hey, I've actually met Lance before, but I'll take it. And I also like the fact that he has a red Gyarados. So, it's being pretty faithful for the most part, so I don't have too many complaints here. Anywho, I do like the talk that Lance and Leon have before the fight, as they show a friendly rivalry going on. And Leon even mentions, hey, I'm actually going to win this match, and I'm going to use this victory to learn from it. And Lance over here is like, I don't know if you're going to win. You're already declaring victory. I guess we'll see who wins when this tournament starts and ends. Now, this battle between Leon and Lance was awesome. And it starts off with a beam struggle. Literally a Kamehameha beam struggle, pretty much, between Gyarados and Charizard. The Charizard using Flamethrower against Hyper Beam, and somehow practically matching it. Though Hyper Beam eventually overpowers the Flamethrower. And Charizard invades this and jumps up in the air, and the Hyper Beam follows. Interesting to note here is that it seemingly hits the stadium and would go into the crowd. However, there's a force field that prevents it from going in the crowd, which is a good thing because, Hyper Beam would have just nuked a bunch of people. And this exciting event would have been turned into a tragedy. But anywho, the battle continues, and Lance has Gyarados use Dragon Dance. And in the meantime, Leon, I'm getting them confused, their names start with an L, but anywho, Leon commands Charizard to use Flamethrower, which Gyarados takes the attack on, but uses this to its advantage as it uses Dragon Dance, as the Flamethrower is not very effective on a water type like Gyarados. And he uses this to land an Aqua Tail on Charizard, which is super effective, and with the increased attack, it does a lot of damage. However, Leon anticipated this and lured Gyarados in and had Charizard use Thunder Punch. basically his trump card to winning this battle. And it does massive damage on Gyarados because, of course, Gyarados is a water flying type. So, yeah, electric moves are not good for Gyarados. But Charizard uses a bunch of Thunder Punches on Gyarados, and Gyarados is able to somehow counter this with a bunch of Aqua Tails and basically cancel them out. And this is where the fun begins, as Leon decides to Dynamax his Charizard, and Lance does the same. Now, I gotta say, I love this portion of the battle, especially Gigantamax Charizard. Gigantamax Charizard looks amazing in the anime. The art style is just awesome. And I love the animation in this whole segment. It was just great. In my opinion, at least. I also like the fact that it references the game when it comes to Dynamaxing and the attacks used and the effect it has on the field. For example, if Gyarados uses a water type move, it affects the field by causing rain to rain down. Or if Charizard uses an electric move, it causes an effect on the field. And I love the attention to details here, and I liked it. I loved it. Anywho, Gyarados seemingly has the advantage at first, however, Charizard eventually gets the upper hand and eventually defeats the red Gyarados. And with that said, Leon is declared the world champion. Lance, on the other hand, he's not actually upset, but he's actually happy. And I like this scene here as they shake hands. And it's a reference to the Pokemon Gold and Silver games, in which Lance tells a player character, you know, I'm not upset about losing. I'm actually really happy to see that there's a new champion, and in this case, a world champion. Additionally, I actually like some of the dialogue here, as Lance actually mentions that he's actually trained in the Dragon Gym in the Galar region before, and that's where his clothes are based off of. That's very interesting, considering this is his Heart Gold and Soul Silver outfit. So that was about 10 years ago. That game's like 10 years old, and his outfit is based on a game from like 10 years later. I think that's pretty clever and pretty interesting. But anywho, yes, Leon is declared the champion, and he does his iconic pose. So while all this is going on, Team Rocket are also here. And while they are enjoying the match, they're actually here on a mission from Giovanni. And it's to catch a Pokemon that Dynamaxes, or a Pokemon that can Dynamax. And to fulfill this mission, he actually gives them a Rotom smartphone. Which I gotta say, are these Rotom smartphones becoming all the rage? We've already got 3 smartphones in the series. Are we gonna see any more? Anyways, all joking aside, I gotta say, I am actually pretty happy with Team Rocket in this episode. I think they were handled very well here compared to previous episodes in the series. As Team Rocket, they get their gotcha machine as they run into a Dreadnought that can Dynamax, and it's a Galar Pokemon. So they go to catch it, and the Pokemon they get from their gotcha machine is a Bellsprout. Though, it can work here as it can deal super effective attacks on the Dreadnought, which it prepares to battle. And as it fights the Dreadnought, it actually hits the ground and causes a bunch of Dynamax energy to spring out of the ground, and it causes Dreadnought to Dynamax. Team Rocket are kind of freaking out here. Jessie tries to throw a Pokeball at it and doesn't even try. She just throws it at the ground because she's just freaking out so much because of how gigantic it is. And it's revealed that, yeah, it's not going to let them escape so easily. And as they try to command Bellsprout to attack the Dynamax Dreadnought, it's too scared to fight and it flees, which causes Team Rocket to run away. And the Dreadnought begins to attack the stadium. And that's where today's episode ends. So this episode, in my opinion, was fantastic. There are a lot of things I like in this episode. We got a great battle between Lance and Leon. Not to mention Dynamaxing was used very well. And I like the attention to details here. Not to mention, I also like the fact that Lance mentioned that he actually has been to Galar before and trained in the Dragon Gym. That was really interesting. I like the dialogue in this episode for that reason. The continuity nod with Lance's G-Man was actually pretty nice. Although I wish that Ash would have mentioned that he knew Lance or talked to Go about it, I'm going to let that slide because I actually didn't expect them to reference that for Lance. So I thought that was pretty cool. Team Rocket was utilized very well in this episode. They weren't a nuisance or a distraction. Also, Go didn't go off and catch Pokemon, as I like the fact that he mentions it, but Ash drags him away, as the main plot in this episode is the battle between Lance and Leon, and I like that. And I also like the end of this episode, as it's a perfect setup for the next episode. It actually gets me very hyped up for next week's episode. But I think the most surprising thing to me was Eternatus having a cameo in this episode. Yeah, and it's interesting because it's roaming in the skies of Galar. So I'm very curious to see what they do with Eternatus in this series. Is Ash and Go going to eventually battle it in the future? Are we going to have a future arc involving Eternatus? Is Chairman Rose going to be involved in some way, shape, or form? I'm very curious, not to mention when Bellsprout hit the ground, a bunch of Dynamax energy shot out, and that energy comes from Eternatus. So I'm wondering if Eternatus somehow caused this. I'm very curious. So honestly, that's all I got for this review. There isn't too many things that I disliked in this episode. The OST is probably the only thing. I thought the gym battle remix was a bit weird. But besides that, this episode was fine. I thought this was a great episode. And I'm going to say it right now, this is the first 10 out of 10 that I'm giving for the Pokemon 2019 series. So guys out there, what did you think of this episode? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and be sure to like and subscribe. And I will talk to you all later.